This is WFO Radio.
What's up, everybody? Joe Castello back with you for another edition of WFO Radio NHRA podcast live on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Twitch and a whole bunch of other stuff that I don't even know what it is, but we're streaming to it and we're going live. So if you're an NHRA Mellow Yellow or Lucas Oil Drag Racing Series fan, what you're going to want to do is share, retweet, start a watch party, be ready for the next little bit. We are going to have ourselves a good time entertaining ourselves with the mellow tones of NHRA's Alan Reinhart. Yes, we've got Alan from Tucson, Arizona, checking in once again, continuing the weekly conversation about NHRA drag racing. We'll take some of your comments, your thoughts. You can use the comment section. Want to tell you guys, appreciate all the positive feedback we've been getting about the Friday cocktails shows and all the good stuff we had last week. Evan Smith, Eric Lane, just great guests, a lot of fun. The live show has been very much embraced by our listeners, but most importantly to me, you are still on board with the podcast because Apple Podcasts, Spotify, those audio only people, they are out there doing a great job. And it only happens because of a few sponsors like Total Seal Piston Rings, the leader in ring seal technology. Think about this. You're a DIY racer. You spent a bunch of money on, let's call it a supercharger, intake manifold, cylinder heads, etc., and you're going to skimp out on the piston rings. Don't do it. That'd be a big mistake. Total Seal is offering 20% off for DIY racers, which is great. Go to totalseal.com. And Keith Jones is your guy. Tell him you heard about it on WFO Radio. Also, samtech.edu. Can't wait to see some factory stock showdown cars go down the racetrack. Samtech, start your education at full speed. The next generation of machinists, engine builders, motorsport EFI tuners, they do it all at samtech.edu. They're doing distance learning, but the Massengill family has got it all. Everybody's working through this, but where are you going to be in 5 years? You don't want to let this blip on the radar, whatever we want to call it, hold you back. So go to samtech.edu. Marvin Rodak, the coffee. I had coffee in the studio and I moved it out. Oh, bummer. He's roasting coffee fresh for your order right now. Give him a call. Go to rodaxcoffeeandgrills.com. Hot sauces and spice rubs, everything good. If you're a coffee file, you want to get on board with Marvin. Next level stuff. What can I say? Marvin Rodak, rodaxcoffeeandgrills.com. And of course, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School, the Dragster Adventure. Your bucket list item for when this is all over. You driving a dragster, 130 miles per hour. They go all around the country. It's the plan. Or maybe you want to get your license. Maybe you want to get a top alcohol funny car license. Who knows? Maybe you want to train to become a champion race car driver. Bottom line is it all starts at Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. FrankHawley.com. Also, Magic Dry US, the official organic absorbent of the NHRA, sponsor of Scott Palmer, helping us out for a long time. Big thanks to Scott. He was our Friday Cocktails guest a couple of weeks ago. This week, we have got just the most amazing Friday Cocktails event going on. I'll tell you after our guest who joins us now all the way from Tucson, Arizona. And he's out there, the voice of the NHRA, not the face. Now you know why. That's your joke, not me. What's up, Alan? How are you doing?
Hey, Joe. Great to be back. Great to see you on Tuesday. Did you catch my shop tour last week?
Yeah, no.
Really?
I saw the preview of the shop tour. What I did see was your tech bit with the pistons, though. That was my Alan Reinhart viewing. I said, whoa, what is this? And I've always heard of that 5-inch pro stock motorcycle piston that you have on your desk, and you got to use it as an example. And so the shop tour, I'm going to watch that as soon as we're done here today. I'm excited. I wanted to promote it with genuine energy, and I'm excited to go watch it. And now that's happened, and we're all going to watch it. Where can I see that, by the way?
NHRA.com.
Just like that. Now, we could play it. We could watch it together, but I'm not going to do that because that would rob NHRA of all those views for your content. We want people clicking on that content individually over and over again, and then maybe next week we can watch it, and if I have a question for you. But it's good that you're doing stuff. The piston stuff was good. I like that you're involved. You're doing stuff.
Well, Nikki reached out to me, and she's trying to keep some stuff going for social media. So I was relatively limited in what I've got here in the shop that I can use, but I was able to find a couple of things, and I got a couple more things on the front burner. I actually spoke to Eddie Krawick this week, and he said, "Hey, if you're going to do Pro Stock 2-cylinder versus Pro Stock 8-cylinder, why don't you do Pro Stock Suzuki versus Pro Stock Harley? I'll send you a piston. So look for that. I'm not sure if it'll come up this week, but it's going to definitely be coming up in the future. We'll talk a little bit about the 4-cylinder Suzuki Pro Stock engine versus the 2-cylinder Harley or SNS Pro Stock engine. It's vastly different. I think it's kind of interesting, and if you're a gearhead, I think you'll like it.
And I'm interested also. And as time has gone by, I've become a fan of the Pro Stock motorcycles. And from what I understand, this was to be a big year for the Suzukis in that they were going to be allowed some stuff that they didn't have access to in the past. But of course, we're doing this right now.
Well, the 4-valve cylinder headers out there right now. There have actually been a couple of guys that have been doing some track testing. Even though you're not allowed to have a large group, there are some tracks that have been open for testing. If there's, one team or two teams that are out there and they keep their social distancing stuff going. So some guys have been running some stuff, and, it hasn't all been sit around twiddling thumbs. There definitely been some guys working on trying to be better when we do get back to racing.
Well, exactly. And you would imagine that drag racers are having a very difficult time with this. Just, sitting around. The person that wants to be involved in drag racing, I always say it's like the type of person who wants to cause themselves problems on the weekend to solve, to relax. Oh, like what can I solve? And so they're really challenged at this. The ones that have access to a track, a facility, some way to test the dynos, this is how they deal with the crisis. They work. They are not working. They are doing what they love in the time they have available. So I do expect everyone's going to be a little bit better when we get back.
Yeah, I think you're right. A lot of the big shops, the nitro shops, especially around Indianapolis, are shut down. They're kind of at a secure at home order right now. But there are a few of the Pro Stock guys I know. The Summit guys, KB down in North Carolina is working. It was interesting. I thought the other day that the governor of North Carolina said that racing is an essential business. He said there's no reason that those people have to stay home as long as, you do what you got to do. You do your social distancing. You can't have 5 guys all crawling over the same car at one time, but just be smart. You can go to work, and there are a lot of guys that are doing that. So, it's been said many times in the past that the real racing takes place in the shop. We just go to the racetrack to prove who's been doing the work in the shop, and they've all been doing it right now, I promise you.
If racing is not an essential business in North Carolina, I don't know what is. That's as big as it gets with all the shops they've got down there. NASCAR country, of course, Xfinity, trucks, and they've even got a Formula One shop down there. Plenty of drag racing, so that is good. As this weekly conversation goes by, I feel last week I was like, this week I feel it happening, Alan. I feel us getting closer and seeing the way things are starting to reopen. Like Texas is starting to reopen, North Florida is starting to reopen. We just got Miami-Dade County, which we're one of the relative hot spots. They're going to reopen parks and boat ramps with limited access. They're ramping up. I feel like what I am seeing is encouraging that it's responsible at very least. Like at Texas, restaurants can have 25% capacity. That's how you got to do it, step by step.
Yeah, I'm all for that. When I was down in Daytona after Gainesville was canceled and before everything got closed down, and went to Giuseppe's Pizza down there. The guy that owns it is a longtime friend and a drag racer. And at the time, they had started a program where they had every other table shut down. If you come in with a family of 4, well, there's no reason for those people to be 6 feet apart. They've been in the same car. They live in the same house. They're, those people are sequestering together, so to speak, but you don't want to put in groups. So he was shutting down every other table. So at that point, he was still open, but there was still a gap between, my group would be at this table and your group would be at least 6 feet or 8 feet away at, 2 tables over. So I think, we're just going to have to be smart about it. As far as when we get back to racing, we're still looking at that first week of June. NHRA did push back the Lucas Oil events that they were hoping to run in May, just as some of the states aren't open yet. Some of the stuff is not in place, but still have 1st of June on my calendar and still have a plane ticket to get down there. And, fingers crossed. I guess we'll have to wait and see. NASCAR's hoping to be back in business before then. They're going to try to do it without fans. So, obviously we'll see how that goes. And then, at this point, I don't think nobody knows exactly. and there's no roadmap. We've never been through this before, so we're kind of figuring out as we go.
And what is it, directionally correct? Yes. It has been a tough situation, but I think we all feel that we're moving to where we want to be. And that's it. Like, when exactly will we get there? It's like when you go on the trip to Disney with the kids and they're in the back. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? That's what it feels like. I'm the kid in the back. Like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? We're not there yet, but we're going to get there. Look out the window and enjoy it. And before you know it, we will be there.
But it's typical racer mentality. You want everything to be quicker, faster, quicker, faster, quicker, faster. How many times at the top end of the racetrack has somebody run a track record, run a personal best? You go, hey, greatest run you've ever made. The guy says, yeah, I felt like it was a little lazy out there in the middle. And you go, come on, man.
Yeah.
Racers just want everything to happen as fast as possible. And there's not going to be any way to rush this. But I do feel like you said, like, we're getting closer. And I think once we get started, man, look out, because everybody's going to be very well prepared and everybody is absolutely ready to go. That's
why I got to get those fence posts installed. See, when I was pressure cleaning the fence, which you're all up on this story, so I can share this with you. Boy, it looks great, Alan, but I have uncovered the fact that my fence posts have eroded by like 60, 70%. So I need to put in some new fence posts. That project is going to get taken care of before we head out on any travel. At least that is my intention. Some people saying, what's up out there on the web? Dale out there checking in. And Sean is saying hello from the UK. Right? What's up, Sean? How are you doing out there? Hopefully you guys are staying safe. Zap says WFO. Jeremy, good morning. Good morning to you. We're in the afternoon over here, but that's good. Zap says, I'm a janitor and listen to the show the whole time I'm at work. Keep up the great work. That's the whole point of the exercise, Alan, is that there's somebody working and we're entertaining, hopefully with the sport that they love, maybe a little knowledge, maybe laugh a little bit, just some light entertainment for the people that are doing the real jobs.
Well, if the guy's a janitor, maybe I should talk to him. One of the things that I realized when I did my shop tour last week, when you live here, right? It's like, okay, it's, the norm. It's the norm. It's the norm. And then I do the shop tour and I watch a video and I go, wow, it's kind of a mess in that corner. And I really had to pick that stuff up. And how long's it been since I swept over there? And all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, maybe I should have done that before I shot the video. But the first thing I say in the video, and it's something that stuck with me, when Don Garlitz invited me a bunch of years ago to come down to his race shop, not the museum, but the race shop.
Right.
And he told me before we went in, he said, you got to understand. He goes, this is a real working race shop. I don't need no fancy decorations or terrazzo floors. And his shop is a real working race shop. And I actually said that at the top of my video. You look at like Alex Laughlin's deal with the Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, A, what an incredible effort he put into the thing. And B, that shop is freaking spectacular. You can't tell me they do any welding and grinding. And I mean, come on, man. Not in that place. My shop's a real working race shop. Mine's not nearly as fancy, snazzy, or pretty as his is. But I think I probably do more welding and grinding in mine than he does in his.
There you go. Pretty boy. Right? Like you gotta have it one way or another. Scott's out there, says the beaches in Jacksonville will be open May 4th. I am under the impression that they're out there now. Hey, Bobby Graham had a question. He wanted to know if your Mustang still has the foot operated windshield washer. Did you have that? Do you have that?
It does not. The car did originally from the factory, but that's one of the things that kind of went by the wayside in hot rod mode for a couple of reasons. I actually still have the apparatus somewhere. I can find it, I promise you. But this car doesn't go out in the rain, and this car gets its windshield washed before it leaves the shop, so it really wasn't needed. And typical racer thing, right? It's like, okay, well, that's 3 pounds we can get rid of, so it's gone.
And you know when it's going to rain down there. Arizona, when NHRA weekend comes, that's when you get your yearly weekend of rain, and you don't need your own car for that weekend.
No, this car is crazy enough when it's on dry pavement, and not only do I not just want it out in the rain, but I don't want to try to drive it on wet roads. It's way overpowered, and it's fun to drive. It's exactly what I wanted it to be, but it's not a wet road car.
No, that makes perfect sense that it wouldn't be a wet road car with 700 horsepower or whatever you've got under the hood. Marvin Rodak, Rodak'sCoffeeandGrills.com out there. Looking forward to the regional race at the Motorplex end of May. Is that one of the ones that got bounced or? I think
I'm not 100% sure. I believe it is, because I think that was the same weekend as the Atlanta divisional that was going to happen. Check on NHRA.com. It's or on NHRARacer.com. It's one of the headline stories out there. But I believe there were 4 Lucas events in May that were scheduled, and I believe all 4 of them got pushed back.
What's up, guys? Always enjoy Alan's insight. Laugh a little bit. Friday Cocktails was super hilarious. Yeah, Friday Cocktails got a little out of control this past week. Tommy Johnson, Jackie Frick, great stuff. I'm not racing, but literally hauling the mail today. He is a mailman, in case you were wondering. Daryl out there enjoying. Torque Attic is hauling trash. So we've got a janitor, we've got a mailman, we've got a sanitation engineer out there making things happen. And we've got a good base of people out there. So let's talk a little bit about some of those process that are going on right now in these race shops. Like, yes, race, distancing, social distancing, all of that. We were talking Formula One on our Ignition show. Formula One says they're coming back July 4th weekend in Austria, and they're planning to run between 15 and 18 races. And so we started to talk about Ferrari, like, excitedly, like, what? Wow, do you think Ferrari's going to be able to keep up with Mercedes? And then wait. Ferrari and Maranello is in the epicenter of the crisis. What are they doing? Turns out they've converted their development to breathing machines and valves for ventilators, et cetera, and so on. So you always have to second guess about what you're thinking. But they are going to be back July 3rd through 5th here in the States, where you can be racing. What are some of the things you might be working on, Alan? Is it the organizational part? Everybody's got that. The shop is clean and organized. We talked to Hop Singh Eric Lane on Thursday, and he said that they organized the shop. They moved everything around. They got everything right. They've worked on superchargers. They got a partnership with Don Schumacher Racing now. Don is letting them go over there and do, blower dyno testing, that kind of stuff. Felt good about that. So if you've got the time and the effort, where do you focus it if you want to get ahead, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, one of the things that you just talked about, superchargers are huge. Obviously, the more air you can get more efficiently into the engine, the better. And if you can pick up a little something there, and that's the reason that so many of the big teams now are making their own superchargers. And it's a reason that, the billet superchargers have come into vogue and some of the other things. I think there's also a lot of stuff going on in the clutch department. I think a lot of guys burning up discs on clutch dynos and going through trying to build just the perfect pack. If you've ever seen a clutch inventory of a big race shop, I mean, we're talking 1,000 clutch discs, and you run them either 5 or 6 at a time, and they're not all identical. So trying to pick just exactly which are the best 6 for this pack, which are the best, you're trying to put together the best recipe all the time, and having the extra time to do that gives you time to focus a little bit more on that. And I think that, they'll be better prepared when they get back. But that's, details. It's all about the details. And when you've got this much time to go over the details, then you're just going to be that much better when you get back on track.
That makes sense. The terms of competition, we already know there's no countdown. We already know some races are going to be 2-day events. It's going to fundamentally...
2 days for the Mellow Yellow Series.
Yes, 2 days.
There will still be Lucas cars running on Friday. And that'll be just the way they kick things off. But the Mellow Yellow cars will run just on Saturday and Sunday.
I'm glad you clarified that, because it was mentioned last week, and it's good news because it's 3 days of racing if you're a drag racing fan, which we are. But I don't know that was super clear. So I'm glad that you pointed that out, because it really doesn't change if you wanted to go to an event the way you would go if you're a hardcore person who goes to all days. It just changes when the Mellow Yellow Series is going to run. And it makes perfect sense. These teams, that's a side of it that I don't know that we've considered. You've got a sponsor. The sponsor expects X at the start of the series or the start of the season. And all of a sudden this happens. From what I'm hearing, at least Eric told us last week that Snap-on has been tremendous with Cruz and that team. But it's a delicate situation, right? All of a sudden, everything is different.
It is, and some of the stuff is case by case, and I wouldn't begin to talk about who's doing what, but some of the sponsor stuff has been renegotiated. If I'm paying you to go to 24 races, we already know 19 is going to be the max, then that's going to have to be adjusted. And some of the other stuff is on the table as well. I applaud guys like Ron Capps You know, you look at the iRacing that he's been doing, and you notice every one of his cars says Napa.
Yes.
If you watch what some of the NASCAR guys are doing, they'll have different stuff, different things on, you know, various tracks and various things. But the reason Ron is doing that, or at least a big part of the reason Ron is doing that, is to keep getting exposure for Napa. They've been a tremendous partner for him and for DSR, and they want to do whatever they can to get him some exposure. And that's why some of the other shops have been, you know, kicked into gear, doing some social media stuff. Like Alex Laughlin's Hot Wheels track is just amazing, and he did that because you're trying to generate something for Hot Wheels. If you don't have their car on the racetrack, you don't have it, you know, you don't have their rolling billboard going down the highway, that doesn't mean you can't do anything for your sponsor. And so the guys that are getting creative and doing that kind of stuff, you know, I applaud them. And I think they're going to be rewarded long term.
I agree. And spoke with Ron yesterday about something we're planning, and obviously having him on the show. And we talked about that. He's hustling. Like, you know, Ron he's one of the last, not that everybody brings money, but a lot do. And he is a driver with a job, and that's great. And Napa, and they've got such a great relationship. And so what is he doing? He's got an outlet where he can hustle and race against known drivers, great drivers, guys like Travis Pastrana are in various leagues. He's a known commodity. Caps is a big personality. They turned him on his head, though. I don't know if you saw that one there, a little Ford Focus or whatever it was, but he ended up on his roof.
I don't think a lot of people realize how hard Ron works for his sponsor. You know, the number of times when you'll see him Sunday in the airport, or you'll see him at the end of the race and go, well, you know, it must be nice to have a couple of days at home. And he's like, no, I'm headed to Wisconsin because, you know, we're doing a grand opening thing, or I'm going down there doing a regional meeting for some of the Napa store owners, and I'm going down to do that and do. But he is on the road constantly. He's hustling constantly. There was a time in Minnesota a few years ago when checked into the hotel, went to the bar and grill that was in the hotel, and I'm wearing just my travel clothes, basically civilian clothes. Went, sat down, you know, order a beer, order a burger. You know the routine when you get in town and you're just kind of unwinding.
Yep.
And this guy walks in that obviously the bartender knew. And it's like, you know, hey, Frank, hey, Bill, how's it? And he goes, oh, man. He goes, we went down. He goes, our driver was amazing. It was incredible. He says, we sat down. He said, he came over to my table, talked to my wife. He sat with us for about 10 minutes. And I'm, you know, kind of like, and just on and on. And he says, you know, he's just like, you know, when our NASCAR driver, he goes, we go through and it's like, thanks. He says, there's not even time to ask questions. He goes, but our drivers, and again, I'm like, and he's talking about Ron Capps. And, you know, coming into town a couple of days early, and this guy owns 2 Napa stores or 3 Napa stores or something. I mean, he's a big Napa player in Brainerd, Minnesota, but he put together a deal, invited some of his customers out, and wanted the driver to come by. And Ron said, what time do you need me to be there? And spent a lot of time going over. But Ron does that week in and week out. I don't know anybody really that works harder for the sponsor when they're not at the racetrack or they're not in the race car than Ron Capps. And it doesn't surprise me in the least that he's out there doing all this iRacing, doing all this other stuff just to do something to support Napa right now.
Rightfully so. He's that's his character, and he's a hustler, and you got to like it and appreciate it. And Ron will be on WFO a little bit later on this week. That energy, let's go there in terms of drivers and personalities. Like, I'm wondering, like, when we get back, are we going to go right back into the groove, or is something going to be different? Are people going to use this opportunity to change themselves somehow? I know, like, I've been trying to, you know, walk a little bit more, trying to lose some lbs, trying to be a better person on the other side. Like, something like this triggered something, like organized the studio, brought in my Miami Hollywood Christmas tree that was in my bar for so many years. What good is that tree in my bar when I never go into my bar because I'm always working in here? This is where the drag racing people are, right?
What's the point of having a bar if you never go into your bar?
Because I'm
I never go into my shop. I think you got it backwards, Joe.
I know, except
you do cocktails with Joe. You don't do that from the bar?
No, I do it from right here.
Come on.
The best laid plans, right? I'll build a bar. It'll be great. Nobody comes here, Alan, even when we're not social distancing. I'm never here. Nobody comes here. And being the guy in your cool bar that's alone is not cool. This is where everything's happening lately. So you know what? Everything came in here, Alan. I got everything. I got alcohol in here. Tommy Johnson's going to make a candle out of this. Like everything is happening. It's all happening in the studio. So I'm using the opportunity as best as I can because it's rare that you get to get off the treadmill. So imagine you're some racers out there, people, personalities, drivers for the past couple of years. Maybe you're thinking, you know, man, I want to grow my fan base, or I don't understand why I'm not as popular as I could be, or imagine your thought process there. What can be done with this break to come back and be a little different, a little bit better?
Well, you know, obviously it's giving everybody a chance of time to, you know, kind of think and reassess and do that. I think that, you know, one of the things that happens over time is you get, you know, you mentioned treadmill. I think that's a great term for it. You get to the point where it's like, okay, every week, here we go again. Okay, here we go again. What town is it this week? I got to do a meet and greet. We've got a fan event. We've got to do, and you just kind of get into the old, okay, it's just the same old thing. And I've seen people over the years, and I'm certainly not going to call anybody out by name, but I'm sure you've seen it as well, that they just kind of lose their enthusiasm. You know, it turns out to be just another thing, or just another, you know, autograph session, or just another fan event, and it's, you know, something that they got to do either contractually or whatever. And it's just, and they kind of lose their enthusiasm for it. And I think a situation like this will give a whole lot of people time to sit back and go, you know, what I get to do for a living is pretty cool, and maybe I'd take more of that. I've had people more times than I can count over the years ask me why I'm wasting so much energy on Thursday morning or Friday morning when I'm on the microphone and there's 12 people in the grandstands. And the reason is because there's 12 people in the grandstands, and they deserve to be entertained and to be informed and I try to remind myself, and I've known people over the years, you know, whether it's comedians, whether it's musicians, whether it's, you know, people that live on the road. You know, a band goes out on tour and they might do 30 shows in 45 days. For them, it's like just another show, right? Okay, what song do we sing next? What do we got to do? It's just, but for the guy that's sitting in the audience, it's his one. It's his one. And I don't ever want to phone that in. And I make a point every single race I go to look out at the grandstands and take stock of the fact that there's a lot of people out here that spent a lot of money to come here, that maybe planned vacations or took time off work or did whatever. And this is their one race a year. And I don't want them to think I'm phoning it in. And that's why, whether it's 8 o'clock in the morning or whether it's, you know, 8 o'clock at night, I try to be upbeat. I try to be enthusiastic. I try to, you know, because I got a great job, and I never forget that I have a really great job. And I want to make sure that that guy, that this is his one race a year, feels like he was informed, he was entertained, and he saw a good show. Now, I will grant you, if you go back and listen to the tape of the stock eliminator final at Indy, that wasn't my most energetic moment, but I had also been at the track for 18 hours.
Wait a second. I have that on tape. In fact, that's one of my best social media videos. You know, everybody wants to go viral with a video. Maybe we should change that. Viral is a bad word now. But that's the K-Stock heads up final round. I got that on tape. You did great. That was great. It was perfect for the moment.
I listen to myself and think I sounded like I was half asleep.
Nah, it's good.
But I mean, a heads up final in stock at Indy is awesome, even if it is midnight. And I tried to do the best that I could with it. But I think that a few drivers right now are sitting back going, you know, I got a pretty cool gig here, and I need to remember that it's not just a job when it's time to do this. You know, the number of drivers over the years, and again, I'm not going to call anybody out, but I'm sure that you've got your own examples that, man, if, you know, if I need to get a sponsor, I need to get a little help, I need to get this, man, I need to do this. And then a sponsor comes on board. And it's like, woohoo, man. And then 5 years later, it's like, oh, geez, they want me to come to this corporate thing. It's not in my contract. You know, it's like, dude, what are you doing?
Right.
You know, you got to realize that when Frank Manzo was with Kendall, I don't remember. You remember the commercials that he used to do when he was driving his funny car? You know, he'd go to the dry cleaner, pick up his stuff, and he'd go, and he was driving the funny car.
Right.
It was really kind of an interesting. I'm sure you can find it someplace. But Kendall called him and said, hey, we'd like to have you bring your car down, do the stuff. We want to do some commercials. We want to do some stuff. When can you do it? And Frank said, well, you know, this week is good, or this time is good. And the guy said, okay, great. You're going to have to be there a couple of days. What's it going to cost? And Frank said, what? And he said, what are you going to cost? What are you going to charge us to do this? And Frank said, you kidding me? You're allowing me to race. You're paying. Tell me what time you need me to be there, and I will be there. And that's just, that's two different sides of the coin. But sometimes people over the years will get a little bit jaded into the old, hey, my contract only says I got to do 5 visits, and you're asking me to do 7. It's like, dude, they're paying for your racing. You need to. So anyway, I think that this time off is going to have some people reassessing a little bit and realizing that, I got a pretty cool gig, and I need to stay enthusiastic about it.
All right, stand by. I appreciate you saying that, and I agree. There's a Michael Jordan documentary. Have you been watching that at all?
I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I've not sat down and watched it in full. I think I'm going to wait until it's all over with, and then I'm sure I'll watch it on an airplane or something. Well, I think it's interesting to note, though, that they're doing this Michael Jordan documentary, and Michael Jordan has complete creative control.
Yes.
I mean, I get that you want to do a documentary, but come on, man.
We're even lucky to be seeing it, right? Because he was just sitting on it all this time. And yeah, and I was rooting hard for your Phoenix Suns. I mean, I'm assuming you're a Phoenix Suns fan. You were rooting for them when they played against the Bulls in the finals. But anyway, let's watch the Frank Manzo Kendall Oil commercial. See what we got right here. And let's see if this is it.
The cool for your caddy, the juice for your jag. It's the jolt in your goal, and what wins you the drag.
You want to add life to the life of your car? Give it the good stuff. Kendall Motor Oil. Pour it in and pour it on.
It's not quite what I think we're thinking. Maybe.
Pour it on. Pour in the Kendall and pour it on.
See if you can find the one where he goes to the dry cleaner.
All kinds of illegal activity happening in that in that commercial. It's like, do not try this at home.
Just any oil.
Kind of stuff.
Just any oil.
I don't know if that's right. But the problem with Kendall is that now if you type in Kendall, the only thing that comes up is Kendall Jenner. There's thousands and thousands of posts. But my reference to Michael Jordan was because he there's a lot of interviews in between, right? They'll show something that happened and then he'll answer a question about it or whatever. But they talked about exactly what you just said, that there's a person in the stands on the road somewhere who has never seen Michael Jordan play. And this is their first and maybe only time. What are they going to get? He talks about this workload disparity now. There's a lot of players in the NBA, players in all sports that, they don't want to go 3 nights in a row. They want off nights built in to recharge, all of that stuff. And Jordan is against that because you get one chance to make an impression to a person paying to see you. And you're going to what? You're going to phone it in, ride the pine, go in for limited minutes. And I thought it was really great to hear him because if nothing else, he's one of the greatest competitors we've ever seen. Whether you like him or you don't, he's one of the greatest competitors we've ever seen, to talk about that. He also goes heavily in depth into sportsmanship when the Pistons walked off the court and didn't shake hands after the game was over and just kind of stormed off with 7 seconds to go. And he, you could see him. He's an old guy now. He's got a glass of scotch next to him during the whole thing. And you could see the annoyance come up, not because he was disrespected, but because the sport was disrespected and the sportsmanship of the sport of basketball was disrespected. And it's really interesting to see. I recommend it.
Yeah. And I mean, things like that, I think I kind of get it, but I want guys to be emotional, and if that's the way the Pistons felt, I'm okay with it. I'm not holding a grudge against them. I'm certainly not holding a grudge against them 40 years later. I hate guys that get out of the car and walk over and go, hey, man, congratulations. That was a great race. Boy, we're just lucky to be on the same track with you.
Yes.
No, I want losing to hurt. And I'm okay if somebody shows emotion. Being a good sport about it is fine. But if I'm paying an athlete, whether it's a driver, whether it's a basketball player, whether it's a tiddlywinks player, I don't care. If I'm paying an athlete, I want him to want to win. I never want him to be okay with losing. And I'm not Kurt Busch's biggest fan or Kyle Busch's biggest fan, but I love the fact that he hates finishing second because he wants to win. I don't want to, we had a good points day. Well, we got a top 10. Well, if he didn't win, he's pissed. And That's what I want my guy to feel. I want my guy to really hurt when he loses. And if he shows a little emotion in an unsportsmanlike way, you know what? At least he's showing emotion, and I'm okay with that. Like I say, was it unsportsmanlike in the moment? Maybe, but I didn't hold it against the Pistons then, and I don't now. 40 years later, and they were pissed off, and they showed it, and I'm fine with that.
And that's what Isaiah said, because what they do is they'll record Isaiah saying something, and then they'll hand it to Michael on an iPad, and he'll watch it. And Isaiah said, like, hey, now if I could go back, but in that moment, that's what we did, and we did it, and it's over. And it's very interesting. All right, we got some comments stacking up. Craig Garland out there saying what's up to everybody. What's up, Craig? Want to see Craig. Let's see. Torque Addict appreciates your effort. Bobby Graham. Guy makes one race a year. He says, thanks. Lex June is out there. We have run a final one day with 12 people in the stands, but we gave it 150%. Well, if there's 0 people in the stands, you got to give it 150% regardless if you're in the final round. Here's a real question from Wade. It's long. When I see the stands on the first day of a national event, and this is obviously ticket sales, so this is not our business, but maybe we'll entertain it. They are empty. It seems like NHRA would have a reduced ticket price or free on Thursday. It would at least introduce folks to the sport, potentially gain a fan and make them want to come back and see fast stuff and get paid to get in. I guess we're talking about Hardcore Thursday, because the Friday crowds, I think, have been pretty good. Depends on where you go. If you go to a place like Gainesville, the Friday crowd is one of the biggest crowd, because in Florida, we are not afraid to leave work. That's right. Oh, man, got to go. But other places, Friday's middle. But Thursday.
The Thursday ticket is considerably cheaper. If it's a 4-day event, the Thursday ticket is considerably cheaper simply because you're not seeing the mellow yellow cars. And I'm assuming, I'm not part of the group that makes these decisions, but I'm assuming that when we go to the events where the pro cars are only running on Friday or on Saturday and Sunday, that the Friday ticket will be discounted pretty considerably as well. That is a hardcore day for the fans that love the sportsman cars or the class eliminator cars, that kind of thing, to come out and watch. And the ticket price is vastly reduced because you're not seeing the professional cars. And most of the fans come out to watch the pros, whether it's the nitro cars, whether it's a pro stock 2-wheel or 4-wheel, whether it's pro mod. They want to see the faster cars. They want to see the louder cars. And that's simply why they don't come on Thursday, because those cars aren't running on Thursday. It's exactly the same as when NASCAR has fewer people in the grandstands on Saturday when they're running the Xfinity race than they do on Sunday when they're running the Cup race, because the majority of the fans comes to see the top level of competition. There are some that come to see the lower levels of competition, but not nearly as many.
Right. But there are fans of, I know several people that go to the Gator Nationals only on Thursday, and then they're out. They want to see class cars. They don't like big crowds. They don't care about the Mellow Yellow Series. And I know that sounds strange, but when we have conversations of people, want to cut a category like pro stock, it's like, yeah, well, you're going to cut, like, even if it's 15%, like, can we really do without that 15%, which I think it's more, but there are people there just for Hardcore Thursday. Now I do wish there were more. It's one of the best days if you like cars, but then again, there are very few people that can just drop everything for 4 days and just go do something. Right. And, it's a lucky person that can do that. And we have quite a few. We got a good crowd on Hardcore Thursday.
But you're talking about the difference between a hardcore fan and a casual fan. The casual fan wants to see the smoke and thunder, wants to see the fast cars and the fast motorcycles and the ones that are going to be out there that are running at a professional level. That's your casual fan. Your casual fan isn't coming out to watch Stock Eliminator. Now, I love Stock Eliminator. I'm not bad-mouthing them. My 67 Mustang that I've had since high school. But the reality of it is, most people, especially the newer generation, there's a lot of people that look at this and all they see is an old car.
Right.
And, and for that casual fan, they're coming out because they want to see the nitro cars, or because they want to see Erica or Jag or Greg or Jason or Alex, or they want to see the motorcycles, the 2-wheel contingent. You go to Sonoma, and I'm sure you've driven up the hill, right? How many motorcycles are there?
All of them.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like thousands, literally, where they have special parking for the motorcycles. Those people came because they came to watch the motorcycles race. And they probably don't care about much else. They came to watch the motorcycles race. And that's why they're not coming on Thursday, because they don't run the motorcycles on Thursday. Obviously, in Sonoma is a 3-day event, so that comes out. But the Thursday ticket in every instance is considerably cheaper if you're buying your tickets one day at a time. And if you buy the full event pass, basically, if you add up the 3 single days for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, your Thursday ticket's free.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's going to be one of the things that changes is the perspective on the sport. The glass is half full, the glass is half empty debate that we've had for the last 10 years. I really felt like the past few years have been great racing, fun personalities, and a very worthwhile event to go to and pay to. I know that the people that are working behind the scenes are like hustling and trying very hard to put on a show for everybody, kind of what you just described. But at the same time, I'll encounter some people that'll be like, oh my God, this is so great. We love it. We're never going to miss one. We're always going to come. Thank you so much. And then you'll go on the Facebook or you'll see a comment that's like, it's not what it used to be, whatever. I'm really hoping when we get back, people are just going to appreciate what they've got as opposed to micro picking at various little things that happen that maybe aren't up to a personal standard. I'm hoping when we get back, everybody's going to be a nice person, Alan, is what I'm hoping. You think? The
reality of it is it's not what it used to be. And I think everybody that looks back with their rose-colored glasses, and say, oh, we used to have 80 fuelers come to San Fernando on Thursday. Okay. You're not going to get that anymore. You used to have 20 cent a gallon gas too, even though we seem to be getting closer to that. But the competition level has never been higher than it is now. And when I started doing this, and I'm not one of the old timers by a long shot, even though sometimes I feel like that, we never left the racetrack on Sunday night before 10 o'clock. We'd run the finals in the dark. We'd take pictures in the dark. And the organization of the show was nowhere near what it is now. Back in the early days of the sport, they didn't even have scheduled run times for the classes.
Right.
You would get there at 8 o'clock in the morning. Everybody pulls in the staging lanes and they go, okay, let's take 10 stockers. Okay, let's take 10 pro stockers. Okay, let's run a few funny cars. Okay, let's run a couple of alcohol funny cars. Let's run. And then you'd make your run and go right back into the lanes. So if you're a fan, you never knew my class is going to run at 2 o'clock, or you never knew I've got an hour before we're going to see pro stock, so I've got time. I'm going to go get a cheeseburger right now and get something to drink, and then I need to be back because I want to see pro stock. And you talk about fans in specific categories. How much? I mean, you could almost hear the yell in Arizona when they announced originally Pro Mod was going to Brainerd.
Yeah,
the fans up there have been begging for Pro Mod for years, and the place is full anyway, right? The campgrounds are full of it, but I think it's going to be even more so this year, and they're so excited about because there's so many fans that want to see the pro mods, and that's something that we can offer that other sports can't. Is it's kind of a menu. You don't necessarily get everything every week, but NHRA has started rotating some of the classes around and moving them to tracks, so tracks that have never seen pro mod before now get a chance. The motorcycles going up to Seattle. That's going to be pretty cool, assuming that it all falls into place and everything happens now. So I think that's going to increase up there too, because there's a lot of motorcycle activity in that part of the world. And they've had the Nitro Harleys, but they've never had the pro stock motorcycles that they could go out and root for. So, being able to pick the class that you want to see is important. But anyway, to get back to the whole Thursday thing, Thursday is for the hardcore fan. And, it's not like it used to be. And neither is anything else. There is absolutely nothing in my world that's like it was 50 years ago.
Right. Except it's probably better now. It's just as you get older, you have nostalgia for the time of your life where everything was new, fresh, and exciting and amazing. Call it the wonder years till you're 30, and then it's all over. So there it is.
All of these guys seem to forget, or at least nobody ever brings up, back in the 70s or back in the early 80s, if a guy blew up, you had a 1-lane racetrack for the next 2 hours.
Yes.
Because cleanup was, hey, let's dust some Rysol on it. Let's drive a truck over it with brooms down the back and okay, fire the next pair. But it would take 2 hours to send enough cars down the racetrack, to put some rubber down, to get all that stuff blown off, to get everything, where you had a 2-lane racetrack again. And now it takes, if it takes 10 minutes, it's like, wow, what's going on out there? And so that certainly is better. There's just so much to it. I've been to races when somebody would, take out the timing lights at the end of the racetrack. That's an hour and a half.
Yes.
Because it was glass, it was wires, it was fittings, it was all of this stuff. And now, doink, give me a glue gun, send the next pair.
Yeah.
That's better now than it was then. Things change, things evolve, things are different. And it's never going to be like it was before. But I'm pretty happy with the way it is right now. And I've been here for a lot of the transition, not quite all of it, but a lot of it.
Jalen's out there talking about Frank Manzo, first racer my dad and I got really close with, being from New Jersey. We used to go to all the regionals and go into his pit. To this day, he still brings us into the pit with their pro mod. He's like my godfather. That's the best, hearing stories like that.
I don't know how you find it, but you got to find the one where Frank Manzo's at the dry cleaner.
I can't. I searched. You normally all this stuff's on YouTube. I did, a couple of searches. Can't find it. Maybe next week someone will send it. Right? They'll email it to joe@wforadio.com and we'll get it on there. And that's the thing, now that we can watch stuff.
Yeah, I hope so.
Jacob Pitt misses hearing the announcing out there. Good job. Craig Garland.
I miss Jacob Pitt's car out there.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Houston this year won't run Mellow Yellow on Friday, so they cut the prices in half. Okay.
There you go.
There it is. Me and my dad go to the Texas Motorplex every year. We love watching sportsman classes. We love hearing Alan Reinhardt's announcing of sportsman classes. There it is, Alan.
Thank you.
Jalen says, my first souvenir from a driver was a used piston from Frank when I was 8 years old. See, but it's, the drugs reference is bad, right? Like drugs. But in this case, it makes sense. Here, little boy, have a piston. And the kid is now, he's a 30-year-old man. He's dragging his wife out there and she loves it too. It's as simple as that to bring someone into the world of drag racing. The kid's going home with the piston and it's like, and now he's a lifelong fan. Good job, Frank.
And one of the other things that we're doing, I think, better now, we didn't do a bad job at it before. You're talking about, the youngsters and the kids coming out there. But one of the things that I think we're doing better now, the number of junior drag racer graduates that remember vividly when they were the kid on the other side of the rope. Have you ever seen Leah tell a kid, I'm busy?
No.
Because she remembers being that kid.
Yeah.
Sean Langdon, J.R. Todd, Erica, they remember being that kid. And they are so good with the new generation coming up, simply because it wasn't that long ago that they were the ones standing on the other side of the rope. And if they got dissed, it hurt. And they're not going to do it to the kids that are standing there now. And I think that's something else that's better. And it's always been pretty good, but I think it's better now.
I want to announce to the world right now that I've finally completed the movie Right on Track. And I have seen Right on Track from end to end. I watched it. I enjoyed it. I lived it. And it's really crazy because when you get to know Erica and Courtney before you see the movie and then you see the movie, it's like, oh, okay. They did a pretty good job with the movie. So I'm up to speed now. I've seen the movie.
Yeah, that's, iconic. And it'll be around forever because it's timeless. There's always going to be kids that haven't seen it. 5 years from now, there'll be a whole new generation of kids that want to see it. And so I think that's one of those things that's going to be around for like years and years and years. And I can't believe I can't remember her name, the actress that played Courtney.
Brie Larson.
Yeah, there you go. She went on to be a superstar.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
That's the thing is that's crazy about it. She went on to be Captain Marvel and and she did a great job with Courtney and, the junior dragster kids. I will say though, the Erica crash into the net scene was a little intense for a Disney child movie. It was a very intense scene, but they did a great job. And I always thought, I don't know, I kind of got the vibe that it was cheesy. I didn't think it was cheesy at all. I thought it was a very well done movie. Warren wants to know if Englishtown it's very sad commentary here, Warren. Was Englishtown a favorite stop of yours on the tour? Sure missed that track. Yeah.
It was for me for a couple of reasons. One, because of its proximity to New York City. For the last, 5, 6, 8 years that I went, made a point to go into the city and see a show, have dinner, do something one night while I was there. And Englishtown fans are about as hardcore as it gets. And that was also a fun thing about stopping in Englishtown. There was also the perk of Englishtown having the morning and evening curfews.
Yes.
So you never had to get up at 4 a.m. to beat the traffic because you couldn't start racing until 10 anyway. And you never had to worry about being there until midnight because we had to be out of there on time. But I loved going to English. I mean, the Louis Bloom Lounge.
Yeah, that was okay. So there's one thing that I don't miss exactly, but it was really good. The curfew, that was it. It took me a couple of years to like figure out like, why is this so relaxed and wonderful? I can walk around and talk to racers, and they're like finding me and giving me information, and everybody's got all this time. Like, what's going on? It's like this curfew. We can't start till a certain time, and so everybody is just ready. It was a great experience. I would go into Yankee Stadium would be my move. And yeah, very sad. Very sad. Walt says it was a bucket list track you never made it to. Sorry, Walt. It's a bit of a bummer. This guy wants to know about the old audio cast. Why can't we get that back for you guys in the tower on Thursday? I'm under the impression that that's available on NHRA.tv.
Yeah, it is on Thursday on NHRA.tv. Audio's there. Cameras come up, of course, on Friday. But the audio's there on Thursday.
Yeah, the audio it's it now. Why isn't it free and available to everyone? Well, the answer is NHRA.tv is a very great product that the most hardcore fans should absolutely have, and it's worth getting on board with that NHRA Platinum membership. And I know I'm shilling for it pretty hard right now because if you're a fan of drag racing, it just makes sense to get the dragster, to get everything, the discounted ticket, and the NHRA.tv. The product is unrivaled, and the people who get it pretty much agree on that.
I think so, yeah. And I think that, the beauty of it is if you don't want to go all in for the year, you can buy it race by race.
Right.
If you sit down and go, geez, there's only going to be 5 weekends a year when I'm really going to be able to dedicate time to this, you can just buy those races if you want to and watch on an as-need basis. But now that's been big, especially with, the advent of instantaneous communication now, right? It's like,
yeah.
How long between a glitch in NHRA TV and your phone going, Joe, check on NHRA TV?
Instant, annoying. Did I say annoying? I mean instant. It's good and bad because we can get it fixed. I will text someone immediately and like try to get them on the case of getting it fixed. But 9 out of 10 times, it's not anything that anybody's doing. It's the internet, as amazing as this is, Alan's in Tucson, I'm in Hollywood, Florida. We're connected together. We're connected to all of you. This is great, which, by the way, here's to the internet for surviving this COVID-19 scenario without crashing. It's been amazing how reliable and quick and stable the internet has been. But in the locations that we are, sometimes there's something like a wire that got chewed by a rat that you didn't even realize that was between the tower and the line, and they have to track that down. But I would say it's up like over, I'm going to just guess 90% of the time. But boy, when it goes down, man, people get mad.
Well, and when it does go down, we've got people that jump right on it and try to get it back as soon as possible. Sometimes it's things that are just completely beyond our control. Sometimes you said it is a racetrack issue or problem, and we get after it. But, you talk about high tech. You know what my high-tech phone stand is?
What's that?
Vice grips.
A vice, you got a set of vice grips on your phone. You vice gripped your mobile device?
Yep.
They sell, okay, first of all, speaking of technology, there's this place, but I don't even know if it's a place. It's a site, Amazon.com, and you go there and you type in phone holder, tripod thing, and you can purchase, and it's a miracle. It just shows up at your shop. You don't need to use
phone holder thing. Already have a complete set of these.
Yes.
At the shop. Set it here, set it there, set the phone in it this way.
Right. Problem solved. You're repurposing welding equipment. That's great. This guy, Jeremy, wants to know, have you thought about doing a tribute at racetracks to local racers in each area from the past? Maybe you could pick a couple in each category. There's a lot of subsets in that request. Local racers, we have the Summit Racing Equipment showcase that happens in a lot of places. I think about Maple Grove. They have that golf cart race, and their local racers that run in their local point series get to come out and run in front of a massive crowd in a race that really matters. From the past, that is what trips it up a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I know that there's been some stuff done on the nostalgia side, like we've got some nostalgia pro stock cars that were scheduled to come to a lot of the races this year, simply celebrating 50 years that pro stock has been out there with us. As far as there have been a few things here and there, when we go to Maple Grove, there's almost always a couple of Grumpy Jenkins tribute cars that are on display there, because that, of course, was, his part of the country. That's where he hailed from. There are things like that in other areas as well. Most of the time it's, in the car corral, it's in a display area. It's not necessarily an on-track thing, but, NHRA is certainly not opposed to doing that. Most of the time, I think it falls into the lap of the racetracks to do it. And there are some of the racetracks that do it very well, and some that, just don't put a whole lot of effort into it.
Yes, exactly. Hey, Alan, we didn't talk about the all-electric Cobra Jet last week. I think that story broke on Thursday, right before Evan Smith came on. And I don't know if you got to see that, but we referenced Evan on this show. Evan reached out to me. Evan's got his new YouTube channel, Revan. And so we had him on. And right before he came on, Ford, the Blue Oval, announced they're going to have like this low 8-second rival to eCopo all-electric Mustang. What do you think about that?
I think they're lying.
You don't think it's real? It's real? There it is. Boom.
I think that they know that it's going to go into the 7s. They just don't want to give that away.
I agree. But yeah.
1,400 horsepower is factory showdown numbers. And yeah, I get it. It's electric. It's not gas, but still, horsepower is horsepower. I don't know a lot about the car. I know a little bit about the car. If I'm not mistaken, the Hancock and Lane guys are involved with that, and they're the same ones that were very heavily involved with the eCopo. But it basically has quite a bit of the same technology with more power. So looking forward to seeing that on the racetrack. The plan is to have that thing come out and make exhibitions of some NHRA races, much like Copo did. And, I'm sure you remember the response when the Copo went 994, whatever it went. I mean, yeah. That was a huge deal. And it was funny. I thought, talking to the people that were operating our welcome center at that point, that said they were inundated with fans coming in going, where's that car? We're not asking where John Force is. We're not asking where the Schumacher compound is. Where's the electric car? We want to see the electric car. And, there are some that like, oh, well, if it doesn't make noise, it doesn't. I like fast and I like technology. I would not like to see NHRA become all electric cars. But I think if somebody's got new technology, somebody wants to bring it out and show it off, then, if it's up to me, bring it. I want to see it. I want to see that new technology. And I also, love the fact that we took a gas Cobra Jet and just absolutely whooped the tar out of a Tesla, whatever, in ludicrous mode.
Yes. Well, and that's the thing. But at some point, like with this Cobra Jet 1400, if it makes the power that it makes and the torque that it makes, then all of a sudden the numbers are going to be closer. I like the fact I was standing, where was it? Was it Seattle? I think it was Seattle where the big record run for eCopo happened. And I was standing right in the water box, like taking it in, experiencing this, getting up close. I wanted to be in the moment. And you could hear the cheer of the crowd. You could hear people willing it on. And as much as we love hearing an engine, it was different to hear people reacting to the cars that went down the racetrack. So I don't know. I would love to find a spot in Comp Eliminator for these cars so that they could actually race. And, they're going to win. They're going to lose. You got to adjust the index, figure out what works for them. But let them be something other than just a oddity somewhere. I think that would be kind of neat.
I wouldn't be opposed to that, but there needs to be more than one of them.
Yeah.
The eCopo thing, as I understand it, was kind of a General Motors experiment. And once they proved it was viable, they went, okay, that's all we need. And I don't even know where that car is anymore. We haven't seen it in a while. And I think that's why Pat McHugh and some of the other guys got involved with the Cobra Jet stuff, because they are, Pat in particular, an electric car guru. And they just went looking for the next project after GM didn't want to pursue that, at least as heavily as they had before, is my understanding.
Danny says, thanks for filling in for the loans at the NMCA race. and good meeting you in the hotel in Norwalk.
Yeah, that was a fun event. If I ever do that again, they're going to have somebody that can come up and fill in, at least so I can go have lunch, or so I can, because they kind of chain you to the counter and leave you alone. And apparently they do the same thing for loans. But no, it was fun. It's, A, going to Norwalk is never a bad thing. And B, it's fun for me to get out and see some of the stuff that's not NHRA stuff. Some of the guys that run different classes, different things that I don't get to see on a regular basis. They have a category in the NMCA. I don't know how familiar you are with it, Joe. It's called FAST, F-A-S-T, factory appearing street tire.
Okay.
And these things roll around the corner, and I mean with rally wheels on them and run like 10s or 11s, or they're amazing. And I mean, they look like they are ready to go to the car show, and it's an amazing category. But that's something that we don't have in NHRA. That is just a really neat thing. And that's why drag racing got so many. If you're a drag racing fan and you live in, just because we're talking about Norwalk, let's just take that for an example. Okay. You live in Cleveland, you live in Norwalk, you live in that neighborhood, and you go, yeah, I love drag racing. I watch the NHRA, every year. Like, do you ever go watch anything else? Because you should. Bill Bader is a guy that utilizes his racetrack for a lot of different things and has a lot of different organizations come up there and a lot of different shows. And yeah, okay, you're not going to see 330 mile an hour nitro cars if you go to the NMCA, but you're going to see some pretty cool cars when you go to the NMCA. One of the other things they do, their true street category, they go on a 30-mile drive. Okay.
Yes.
Escorted. You go on a 30-mile drive.
That's long. Throughout
the roads. When you come back to the racetrack, you pull into the staging lanes and you make 3 runs. And I mean, down the track, up the return road, down the track, up. You're not allowed to get out. You're not allowed to set your tires. You're not allowed to take time to cool off. This is a true streetcar category. And you watch some of those things run 7s and just go, whoa, that's pretty cool. But anyway, there's a lot of other racing out there. If you've got a racetrack in your backyard, and you come out every year to support NHRA, bless you. Thank you. We're grateful to have you. But keep your eyes open, because there may be something else going on out there that you'll find very entertaining. My track here in Tucson, we don't have an NHRA national event. That doesn't mean there's not activity out there. When they run the duct tape races and when the roadkill guys come to town, and they've had the Street Outlaws come in here a time or two, and they've put on just amazingly entertaining shows. Brian and Freiberger have been down here. They did the Hoopty Challenge a time or two.
Yes.
Which is riotously funny and very entertaining. It's not 300 miles an hour, but man, is it a fun day at the racetrack. So, if you've got a racetrack in your neighborhood, support them, even when NHRA is not in town. I don't know how we got on that tangent, but.
Well, no, it makes perfect sense, because drag racing as a hobby, it requires, I got this tree back here. When our track went away, a lot of shops went away, a lot of businesses went away, a lot of things went away that were related to it. And you need more than one event to support that ecosystem. That is your local machine shop, engine builder. They want to do high performance stuff. You need racers, right? And so even if you're not NHRA drag racing, as long as you're drag racing or bracket racing, or you're going out there for test and tune, your hot rod Sundays or whatever, that's what keeps it alive, that consistent presence. And if Super Chevy were coming to town or NMCA were coming to town, go out there, be a part of it, try to figure it out. I like that idea of the true fast. That actually sounds kind of cool. And so Denny has informed us of what the situation was, that you were not expecting a roommate, but you got a roommate. That's hysterical. Loans didn't tell you, like, hey, by the way, you're going to have a roommate. That's great. I had that happen to me once. It's great.
It was nice.
New people.
It was nice meeting him. He was a great roommate. I hope I was a good roommate back. But no, it's always fun to get out and meet other people, especially people that have a passion. There's a lot of passion out there that's not focused on the nitro cars and the pro stock cars. And anybody that's got a passion to do this, I applaud them.
Mark Caruso out there. He was on our Friday cocktails show for a while. It was very entertaining, to say the least. It was a good time. All right, so the comments have kind of died down. We've gone for over an hour. This is longer. When we go live, Alan, it's a little bit longer because people are taking us in different directions. But I think you've done a great job here for us. And let's talk a little bit about that piston piece that you put together on NHRA social media, so that all of these people that are watching this will go and click on it, and it'll get all kinds of clicks and shares and all of that.
It is just simply a comparison between a NHRA Pro Stock engine and a Pro Stock motorcycle V-twin. Talk a little bit about bore and stroke, about valve size, about various things like that. And, I don't want to tell you the whole story because if you don't go click on it, but, keep your eyes open. I did another one on camshafts that's going to come up here at some point. And as I said, Eddie Krawick reached out and said, hey, I'll send you a Suzuki piston, do a comparison between the Suzuki and the V-twin. So I'm going to do that. Always looking for something. By the way, speaking of, as long as we're shamelessly plugging things.
Shameless plug.
Tomorrow, Brian Loans and I are going to do a little live thing. I think it's only going to be 10 or 15 minutes, I believe on NHRA.com. So keep your eyes open for that, because Loans and I, he saw my piston thing too. And he said, I got some pistons that you don't have. So I think we're going to, we kind of put together some stuff in our shop so we can see, who's got the coolest, the most unique, the whatever. But
well, don't you have like a boneyard of exploded stuff?
I have some, yeah.
You need to put that together. I'm not saying it needs to be used for WFO, but we definitely, now that this technology is prevalent and everybody is sequestered, you need to show us the whatever that is. Because I do recall you like requesting destroyed, exploded, various things. So maybe that could be interesting insight into Alan's world.
I've actually got I've got a pretty interesting museum here, because I have obviously a lot of gearhead friends, but what happens in the nitro world and even in the alcohol world and stuff is so much different from what happens, for the guy who's got a bracket race car or a class car that comes out and races. And being able to show them some of this stuff is pretty interesting. But I've got like a top fuel crankshaft. I got a 2-piece manifold. I actually have a prototype top alcohol head from Alan Johnson, one that has never been bolted to anything. And, I could probably like show it, but I couldn't let anybody come over here with a micrometer and go over it. But no, I've got some interesting stuff. Yeah. And I'm kind of proud of my collection, because I'm going to build a cackle motor at some point. This would have been a great time to do it. The problem is there's nobody working that I can call and go, okay, look, the next time you've got a block that's just going to be cycled out. I don't care if it's got a patch in the side or if it's got whatever, but everything's got a life cycle. And you get to a point where you go, okay, this thing's made this many runs and we're not going to put it down the track anymore. It's going to go in a show car, or it's going to get recycled for scrap. Set that thing off to the side because I want it. And, I don't know if I'm going to build a Del Worsham blender or not, but I would like to put together a cackle motor.
I like that. All right. And since we've done it 3 weeks in a row, before we let you go, your T-shirt, the Reinhart T-shirt is now a thing. What do we got this week?
I actually came a little closer to home this week. This is a Loper Speed Shop. And Johnny Loper's been in business in Phoenix for 50 or 60 years. And it was on the top of the pile this week, so I grabbed it. And Loper Speed, to my knowledge, still open, still in business, and still doing stuff. When I was a kid going out to the old Tucson Dragway here, every once in a while they'd have the Arizona Pro Gas cars come into town. And at that time, Pro Gas basically was what Pro Stock was then. I mean, we're talking big block, we're talking 4-speed, and Johnny Loper had a 427 Camaro, and there was a guy named Clyde Edwards that had a Hemi. It was either a Cuda or Challenger. I don't know, as a kid. And those two were fierce rivals. And going out there and watching those two race was pretty special. And obviously, I've gotten to meet Johnny as time went on, and some other stuff. And not claiming to be his best friend by any means, but supporting a local, since I've had T-shirts the last 2 weeks from 10,000 miles away. I got one from 100 miles away this week.
That makes sense. No, I remember Johnny Loper, back in the day coming to Gainesville, alcohol funny car, I guess. But again, I was a kid. Good times, Alan. Great job. And I really appreciate you coming on the show. He is at NHRA Reinhart. Go find him on Twitter. Excellent work, my friend. Thank you so much.
Go to NHRA.com and see my shop. I did a complete walkthrough tour of my shop. It's easy to find. Just click on the homepage, scroll down, look for shop tours. You can't miss it.
I am going to do that immediately now that I'm super psyched up about it. And we'll talk next week.
All right, Joe. We'll probably talk before then. Have a good day.
All right, there he goes. Alan Reinhart from the National Hot Rod Association with us from his shop. Now, before you all go, this has been a great show. The archive is located. I'm going to tell you how to get some of these WFO radio stickers. We actually give them out, but during this whole coronavirus COVID-19 scenario, I didn't really feel comfortable with people just like sending me mail. But now, as part of the big return to normalcy, I'm going to tell you how to get some of these WFO radio stickers for free, but you got to spend some money. No, you got to put a couple stamps on an envelope. That's it. I just filled out a bunch. I went to the post office box. So what you're going to do is send a self-addressed stamped envelope, and you're going to put that in another envelope that you send to me. Do you know how that works? That way I open your envelope and find the one that's addressed to yourself, and I just stick the stickers in there, seal it up, and send it back. That way I don't have any busy work, and I don't have to pay for the stamps because I'm already giving you the stickers. And it seems to be really great because I filled up like 10, 15 envelopes this morning in 10 to 15 minutes, and they're already in the mail on the way back. Now, I hadn't done that for a long time because of the whole situation. Like, I didn't want to go to the post office, but as now we're returning to normality a little bit, as best as we can, I think it's time to get you guys some WFO radio stickers. And so here's the address coming at you real soon. I will have it up on the screen later on in the week. And I need you to stick around and tell you all the great stuff we've got coming on later this week. But first of all, here's the address: Castello Media /WFO stickers, P.O. Box 848-353, Pembroke Pines, Florida 33084. I'm going to give that again in a second, but you take an address to yourself, put some stamps on it, put it in another envelope, seal the envelope, put a stamp on it, send it to this address: WFO stickers /Castello Media, P.O. Box 848-353, Pembroke Pines, Florida 33084. And typically 2 stamps, I can put in 4 stickers and whatever else I got sitting around. Because, you know, like I've got some other stickers. Like, look at this cool Marvin Rodak sticker that I've got sitting around. I'm trying to figure out where to put this bad boy, right? I can just hold it up on the screen. Like, I can't do it because everything's backwards, but you get the point. And I'll load you up, and then you can rep WFO from wherever you are. Any other comments out there before we get going? Torque Addict says, thanks, fellas. Thank you. Appreciate you taking a little time from your job. We won't tell anybody. Colton was out there, did a little dirt track racing Saturday from Ardmore, Oklahoma. See you soon, Joe. See you later, Colton. Thank you very much for weighing in. Marvin Rodak out there. He's got his whole deal. He's on the Facebook. Way to go, Marvin. And speaking of Marvin, for you people out there, you know that we've got sponsors on this show. And Marvin is one of them. And Marvin has done such a great job for us over the years. Hot sauces, spice rubs, gourmet coffee, roasted fresh per your order. You definitely want to go to RodaxCoffeeandGrills.com and see what they've got. Give them a call, 817-924-6821. Marvin has been tremendous to us. Also want to mention Steve Brenwald, who does all our artwork and creates these cool WFO radio logos, etc., has been very helpful to us. Also, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Talking about Frank Atlanta Hawley because they've been so helpful over the years. We've been going for 10 years. They've been a sponsor of ours since for like 8. Just steady Eddie with us. We really appreciate them. Make your plans to go on the Dragster adventure when we get back. Total Seal Piston Rings. We've got a new Hidden Horsepower episode with legendary engine builder, 9-time engine master, John Kazi. Will be on the next episode of Hidden Horsepower. So go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and start the subscription. It is free to Hidden Horsepower. But really, it is all to educate you about how important piston rings are. And if you're a DIY racer, go get yourself 20% off on your next set of rings. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Start your education at full speed. We've got a podcast for them, too, called Factory Stock Podcast, about the factory stock showdown cars. An electric Cobra Jet. Could it hang with the showdown cars? Imagine if it did. Imagine if it did. But really, it's about the next generation of engine builders and machinists and motorsport EFI tuners. They've got an Associate of Applied Science degree, samtech.edu, been around for a long, long time, and they are all racers in that family. And, of course, MagicDryUS.com, doing a great job. Scott Palmer, been very, very helpful. Those are the sponsors who make it all possible. Of course, I'm WFO Joe, and we encourage you to subscribe to the podcast. There's new Ignition in the archive. We talked in depth about the Beastie Boys documentary that is out on Apple. Talked about the Michael Jordan show, which is The Last Dance on ESPN. And of course, Matt Kenseth and Ryan Newman and everybody that's returning, plus a little Formula One and NHRA drag racing. Want to remind the YouTube channel is starting to awaken. If you're watching on YouTube, commenting on YouTube, here's the thing about the YouTube channel. It lied dormant for a long time, so it atrophied, but now it is awakening, and a lot of people are watching on YouTube. We've got like 500 subscribers on there. Subscribe, click the bell. Subscribe, click the bell. That way you never miss a show. And finally, WFO Radio t-shirt. Why doesn't Alan have a WFO Radio t-shirt? You know whose fault that is? It's my fault. It looks like this, and you can definitely get it at nitrofishracing.com. In fact, go there right now and order the WFO Radio t-shirt. What's cool about this is it's our 10th anniversary t-shirt, and there's a 78 Trans Am, which is my personal race car, and that is supposed to be a likeness of me. The first version was very ugly. And I was like, guys, I can't. I'm ugly enough as it is. I can't, like warts on my face and everything. And so we tuned it up a little bit, but rock your WFO Radio 10th anniversary t-shirt, and supposedly coming soon, get this, the WFO Radio mask. Are you kidding me? It is coming soon, so they say. And I made a joke when I was doing the emceeing of the Garlits International Drag Racing Hall of Fame deal right before the Gator Nationals, the Thursday before the Gators, after Hardcore Thursday. Went over there, had a great time. It was a bummer because Big's brother Ed was who has since passed away at the very end of life, and so there was. There were some moments that were heavy there, and obviously everybody who came there to make it was effort. You had to take a risk to go because the whole COVID thing was real, and we were just finding out how real it was. But I made a joke about sponsor masks were going to become a thing, and sure enough, they are becoming a thing. It's becoming reality, folks. Now, if you're looking for something else to watch in our WFO Radio archive on all of these channels, you can find the Friday Cocktail Show. We had Jackie Frick, and we had Tommy Johnson Jr., and then Mark Caruso and JT and Courtney Enders, and everybody just jumped in the show, Camry Caruso, and people got tore up, and it was so much fun. Friday Cocktails is probably becoming the runaway hit of the live streaming era of WFO Radio, which brings me to the promotion of this week's edition. Yes, we are trying to continuously evolve the program with new and wonderful things. This guy says he's got his WFO t-shirt still in the bag, just waiting. No, you're not helping me at all by waiting with that thing in the bag. Is this my dad? My dad always buys shirts and leaves them in the bag. And he's got like these most amazing Joe Amato shirts and stuff from the 80s, and they're all in the bag. If you buy a WFO Radio shirt, you got to wear it. You're not helping me if you're not wearing it. Just saying. Bobby Graham going back to work. Deacon Hawk is out there. All right, here's what's up for Friday Cocktails. I don't like to pre-promote too often because sometimes things fall through. But when you're doing live shows, you got to do it. So here it is. This Friday Cocktails will be a special edition of Friday Cocktails. It's going to be Wine Night with Ron Tobler and Ron Capps. And for those that know or are in the know, you've seen bits. Tobler and Capps become very tight over the years. And on Saturday night after Q4, Tobler does Wine Night. And a group of people kind of come in and come out, and they enjoy vino. And they try different stuff, and people bring different bottles, and it's just a great social conversation. Drag racing is discussed, of course, but who knows what else. And so we've already got a confirmation from the Rons, Tobler and Capps. Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time will be Wine Night. And we are going to have a rotation of guests pop through. Tobler has agreed to this, but doesn't really fully understand all that is going to happen. So I will invite you. I'm inviting you now to be ready. YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, our Facebook page, our Facebook group. Be ready. Set an alarm. Do it on your phone right now. Friday, 4 o'clock. Do not miss it. We are going to have a lot of fun enjoying each other's company and really talking about one of the great careers in all of drag racing, talking about Ron Tobler, a multi-time champ, worked with Shirley, worked with Cruz, had big moments, had down moments, was on the other side of the run, which we're not going to bring that up, but is also, a West Coast hip hop connoisseur. So many great things. Plus Caps has got all the iRacing that's going on. So it's going to be an all Napa Friday cocktail special edition wine night with Ron and Ron. It's going to be our own WFO version of the Ron and Ron show. All right, everybody, that is going to do it. Be sure to get your WFO radio stickers and be sure to stay logged in and tuned in to WFO radio. There's an Ignition show waiting for you right now. Thursday, we're going to be back on the air 4 p.m. Eastern time. I have no idea who, honestly. I got no guest. Last week, they just emerged. Sometimes you just got to trust the cosmic forces to deliver a great guest, like happened with Jackie Frick and happened with Eric Lane and happened with Evan Smith. All great stuff. The audio is in the archive. Remember, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud. We would love for you to rate us and write a review. Sign up to everything we've got and support everything we've got, because that's what we do. That's what everybody is. We're influencers now. But really, someday, I can't wait to get back to the racetrack and do what we do best. My name's Joe Castello, at WFO Joe on Twitter and Instagram. We did try streaming to Instagram in Milwaukee. The form factor is not correct. Again, you can follow us on all these channels. The podcast is audio only, but really, I'm an audio only guy, as you can probably tell. But we're having fun during this time. Great show. Love the format. This person has not signed in to StreamYard. If you see the streaming software we're using and you want to use it yourself, let me know. I'll send you the link. And they'll give me they kick back. They wet the beak a little bit. So if you're inquiring about that. And general emails, joe@wforadio.com. Send me an email. I do that too. You don't have to just send a self-addressed stamp envelope. You can send me an actual email. And we'll put that address up on the screen on a later show. And I'm just happy to be sending out stickers once again, because that means we're getting back to normal. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next time right here on WFO Radio.